Here's just a note. According to canon, the Separatists were virtually always winning the war. They were winning to this.
Too big to fit in there. No, we're not. Watch this. You were right.
Ambush was the first episode of the Clone Wars series, and an introduction for what was to be in store. Well, technically, the Clone Wars movie had come out before as a precursor to the series, and I'm sad to say that the mediocre showing of the movie was consistent with what we saw in this episode. Hell, I'd go as far to say as the first season was mediocre. I mean, there was so little planning to this that this wasn't even the original planned first episode. They just decided to go ahead with it. It has been said that the Clone Wars series parodies the original film. Like we saw with Luke, it started out innocent, and as time went on, it became sort of a coming-of-age movie. You got to see Luke expand through the first, second, and third movie. We see the gradual change over time of the series and its characters. Like Luke, the characters mature and the plot develops. Let's get into the episode itself. Republic forces are starting to feel a serious strain as the war continues to drag on. In an effort to alleviate this, they've reached out to Toydaria to set up a supply base for their lines. Now, what I do like about this series is sometimes they have later episodes that will tie into the one you're watching. Like in this one, we see this being tied in with the effort to supply and liberate Ryloth later on. In an attempt to show how serious the Republic is, Jedi Master Yoda is sent on a secret mission to negotiate the terms with the Toydarian king. The Separatists seem to be one step ahead of them though, as Asajj Ventress arrives before the Republic convoy can and blocks all communication. She presents King Katunku with a hologram of Dooku, who rightly points out that the Republic aren't exactly doing a great job. Just consider, this is a top-tier meeting, and the spies of the Separatists are so good at what they are doing that they know about it. It's almost as if there's someone at the highest levels of this war providing them with information. But nah, that would be crazy. The Jedi would see that coming. Even without the Force, this is so obvious and blatant that it couldn't be that. I mean, they're not idiots. The Republic ship is easily outgunned, and the commander states he has to get Yoda to safety. Yoda, showing that he isn't going to let something like death scare him, tells the commander he has a meeting to get to and he'll just take an escape pod. The commander mentions that any escape pod would just be destroyed, and Yoda tells him to send all the escape pods. It's not like they need them. I mean, they're just in a fight with two ships that dwarf theirs in size, and they're losing the battle. Also, you would think they could just simply destroy all of the life pods. I mean, how hard...
Hang on. Almost. What a terrible shot. Ah, well. It's my programming.
Oh. Yeah, this is where we begin to see a major flaw in the droids. They are made as the comedic relief in most episodes, and the problem is, they're so stupid it really hurts my suspension of disbelief. If they are as stupid as this show suggests, how is the Republic losing the war? Even with the machinations of the Sith Lord, it is mind-boggling that the Republic couldn't beat them with an airspeeder and one blaster rifle. Not surprisingly, Jedi Master Yoda and 3 clones make it down. As the Republic ships flee, Ventress spins it as if Yoda and the Republic are weak. To which Yoda contacts them and one-ups her. He accepts her challenge and is about to destroy an entire battalion of droids before he gets to the meeting. I'm honestly of two minds with King Katunku. He initially seems like he is against playing into Ventress's idea, but then he agrees to it. It's like all of this is some kind of sporting competition for him. This is one battle. Does he think Master Yoda is always going to be there to defend his planet? The Jedi are spread thin. This is a ridiculous challenge, and it's ridiculous to accept the Republic or Separatists based on the outcome of this one event. However, throwing all logic aside, the game is afoot, and Yoda leads the clones into a denser area to prevent Separatist tanks from getting in. I'll say this episode does show the genius of Yoda. He's a really good tactician, and that is clear as the plot progresses. Getting far enough away from the tanks, Yoda decides that it's time to turn the tables and ambush them. Again, this really highlights how much better the Jedi and clones are against the Separatist forces. They absolutely mow down the frontline troops. It's not even fair how epically the droids are destroyed. Yoda and the clones get separated, and the clones find themselves pinned down. During this time, there is one scene that really struck me.
I hope the General reaches the rendezvous point.
The shot behind him time.
This clip angers me more about the Jedi and the Republic, but we'll get into that later. Yoda eventually shows up and defeats the droid, and now they track to the meeting place. They find themselves in what I assume is a dried gulch, and, against the clone's suggestion, they decide to rest in one of the caves briefly. It is at this point we have some character development. During the conversation, Yoda has them take off their helmets. He then begins talking about how they are all different and unique in the Force. I'm sorry, but this is just utter trash. If they mattered so much, then the Jedi Council and the Republic would not agree to employ a slave race to do their fighting. Don't be confused. The Jedi and Republic agreed to have a race created and brainwashed to follow every command, and then go die by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. This was all to fuel a war for a republic that had grown so corrupt some of its members wanted no more than just not to be a member of it. And the Republic decided to kill those people. But that's the thing, how can you have heroes when both sides are employing slave races to do their fighting? So a brief back and forth between Yoda and the clones occurs, and then the Separatists have finally caught up with them. The big guns have finally arrived, tanks and all. The clone troopers themselves aren't up for a full confrontation. So Yoda goes to confront the enemy and tells the clones they'll know when the time is right to assist him. So down he goes, and Yoda completely eviscerates the droids and tanks. And again, the Republic is losing. However, he's too busy poning a tank to notice the droidicas coming from behind him. Well, this is quite a problem, so the clones jump into action and save the day. The battle ends with Yoda asking this.
Learned something today, have you, Lieutenant?
What? You can barely tie any of the self-aggrandizing nonsense you said to them in the cave with this successful ambush of an enemy. The episode ends with the king declining the offer of the Separatists, Yoda saving his life, and Ventress escaping via distraction and falling rocks. Now, before I get to the end of this, I'll go ahead and admit that I am taking a page from SF Debris, a reviewer far better than myself and someone who was more than willing to give advice when I reached out to him. So take a look at the link below. If you haven't, he is an awesome reviewer and an inspiration to me in more ways than one. When it comes to rating this specific episode, I'm going to give two different ratings. The first is the rating of the show against itself, which I feel is the most accurate and honest way to do it. And the second is the review of the show versus others like it. Now, these ratings are completely opinionated and arbitrary. Take them for what they are. If you like what I like and you agree with my opinions, it's just a good buffer to decide if you would like it or not. So the episode compared against other episodes in the same series comes to a 3 out of 10. This was a very weak episode to start the series off, especially when you consider the future seasons are much, much better. When compared to other series that are fantasy sci-fi, it moves down to a 2 out of 10. Even if you consider this a kid's show, just for kids, it's still an exceptionally bad episode. There are much better alternatives for kids and adults out there. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.